The biggest hack on this, Chris, is to be genuinely interested in them. What they will talk about almost every single time is the people they love the most and what they love the most.
Yeah.
That could be their career that they've done for
That's a great
35
one.
years.
Yeah.
That is literally their identity. Edify them, make them feel great about their career, make them feel great about being a father, but genuinely be interested in them. And you do that by asking those questions and tell me more about that. Or you can connect on those levels knowing that that's going to be the person we're going to be protecting later on anyways.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. It's Zach and I today.
It's us, just hanging out.
We're just a couple of construction workers eating lunch on a beam, like that beam on the high rise, feet dangling, talking about sports.
One of my favorite movies, Joe Dirt. And it reminds me of the scene where he's at the oil thing and they're all eating lunch at their lunch bag.
I don't.
Adam knows what I'm talking
We
about.
lost half our listeners when you said Joe Dirt. Actually, we probably doubled our listeners. Very good. No, we're just talking. We want to bring some value to you guys today. I told Adam that this was going to be a short podcast.
He lied to the poor boy.
And he said, whenever I say that, it's a long podcast. I'm committed to this being a short podcast. And today we are talking about not getting stuck in your conversations. We want to give you some statements and questions to move the conversation forward. We've got a handful of examples of this. And our goal in this is to keep it simple. Simple solutions in some specific situations.
It's easy for you to say, Chris. You've been doing this for a long time.
That's all you get. That's what you
keep it
get.
simple? How do you just keep it moving forward? How is it not a big deal to you?
Right.
I'm freaking out over here.
Your hands sweaty? Mom spaghetti?
No.
Palm sweaty? No?
It's cold in here.
I'll give you an example of this, though. I was a youth pastor for years, and I helped in the children's ministry, okay? I would hear senior pastor give a message, I would give a message, and then I'd go in the children's ministry, and they're teaching, right? And the thing that amazed me about children's ministry was how simple the message was about the same things we were learning in other areas of the church. So, can you keep it simple? Yes, I believe you can. You can transfer big ideas with simple statements. So let's not keep it complicated. We're going to give some
Not
very
get stuck.
What's that? Let's not get stuck. What are we talking about here? Yeah. So we'll jump in here, and we're going to give some scenarios here, and we're going to talk about why we're bringing it up. Okay, let's talk about an example, Zach, where we're doing the discovery process of maybe why they've sent something in. We may have asked a question, what got you thinking about passing away or final expenses, or what got you sending in a request, something to that effect. You have a line where you'll say, in most cases, it's usually because somebody passed or there was an illness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I've always gotten away from. Early on, when we used to run direct mail lead cards, one of the worst things that I found to not be super successful and would really derail or get you stuck or change the conversation is for somebody to say, so why'd you fill out the card?
Yeah.
Why'd you fill out this lead, or what made you send the request in?
I heard people say lead before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What made you send the request in? The whole slew of answers to that can put you in a rut. It can literally get you stuck.
I like what you said, derail.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now you're hopeful. You're hopeful for one answer that goes, oh, Mr. Chris, I'm glad you asked that. The reason I sent this lead in is because I don't have any life insurance and I want to make sure that my wife is taken care of. Is there any way possible you might be able to help me with that?
Yes, I can. I'm glad you said that.
Right. But that doesn't normally happen. They will go back and again, their natural reaction is to avoid. Mm-hmm. Their natural reaction is to hide their emotions or anything that might be painful, like them or their spouse dying or leaving behind their kids. So what they're going to do is they're going to, I don't even know what it was about. It said it was this free. What is this about? And when you're in those early stages, it's going to change or allow them to back out of that conversation in a way that now we're trying our best to climb out of this hole and get back on track.
Yeah.
And that becomes difficult. Being able to ask questions to reveal why they might have filled it out first, and then you follow with the question of, is that what really made you start thinking about final expenses? Is that what made you want to protect your family and make sure they never have to go through this? And they'll say something of, yes, or, yeah, I don't have anything in place. And you say, okay, could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Perfect. So let's, in your discovery process, there's this statement that you make about illness or maybe somebody passing. So let's use that as an example. The one thing I hear from new agents is a missed opportunity to connect as a human being and show some care in the conversation. And it kind of gets blitzed by, or they're looking for a sales opportunity immediately. They're looking to sell right away. Yeah. And they'll say something like, Mrs. Jones may say, well, my sister passed 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And they may say,
so how much coverage do you want, Mr. Chris?
Yes. Did you? That's pretty extreme. They may say something like, did she have any coverage in place? And now they've set the table to be a salesperson with Miss Betty, Miss Jones, whatever.
Yeah. And I want to add to that, Chris, because when we're going through that discovery, our goal as people, as advisors, as agents trying to help clients is to develop that relationship, is to maintain control, is to generate and try to find that reason that's inside of them for that vulnerability. A lot of times they don't have words for it, and then to follow up with that. Sometimes if you're newer or agents aren't able to do that, you can lead with a question. And, such as Mr. Chris, what made you really starting to think about your final expenses? I sit with a lot of families and I talk to a lot of folks every day, and I love what I do. And what I have found is most of the people that I talk to, they either have lost somebody close to them recently, or they've recently had some sort of health scare that made them realize that they're not invincible anymore. Yeah. Did any of that happen to you or your family recently that really got your mind and your heart thinking? And that can lead into the, what you said, their sister passed away recently, right?
Yeah.
And that can help shift that conversation to get to this point.
Yeah. And I like it. I like it that you said derail. I like guardrails. This is a guardrail conversations typically connected to one of those events. And I do hear agents say, I'm so sorry. Did she have anything in place? I like this is a pacing issue as well and a tonality issue. I'm so sorry. Pause. Let them feel that. And then I typically, even from the best, I hear, did she have coverage in place to take care of her final expenses? And their tonality, it goes up a little bit, which is fine. It's fine. The thing I look for is this bridging question of, I'm so sorry. Do you mind telling me more about how that funeral went, how her funeral went? And you give them a chance to talk through that and that experience.
Yeah. What we're trying to accomplish here, because this is a connection that we're building, and it's also related to the exact problem that we're hoping to help the client solve.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to be real. You have to be genuine. And what you're saying, Chris, is in that moment when you're going, oh, did they have insurance? Like, you're thinking from the mindset though, oh, they did or they didn't. Well, maybe they'll know the impact and I can help sell this policy to this client.
And it may even be from the perspective of wanting to help.
It may be, but it could be perceived the other way.
That's the issue, correct.
If trust isn't established. And if this is somewhat early on, chances are it's not. So why don't we play it safe, and why don't we actually want to find out? Like, if you can't put your script aside for a second and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. How long ago was that?
Yeah.
You know, was she in bad health, or was this a kind of a surprise to the family?
By the way, yeah.
You know, how close were you to them? When was the last time you got to spend significant time with them?
Yeah.
How did this affect the rest of the family? How did this make you feel? Did they have this prepared? Right? Did they have things in place to take care of it? Was that beneficial for the family?
Let's talk time out. Okay. And the great thing you're doing is you're working towards that in the flow of I would say, an empathetic conversation. 100%. You're working towards the question and the flow of an empathetic conversation. So you can talk about the funeral. You can talk about the relationship. You can talk about the impact on the family. Did she have something in place to take care of?
And also, you're feeling out your client. You don't know if that struck an emotional chord, right?
That's good.
And if you don't, I would say, ease into that or stop and care about a loss that somebody had first and be empathetic.
Yeah.
And if you just kind of steamroll past it because Chris said to ask this other question, it could somewhat hurt or offend them. If they have a little bit of emotion, or if it was kind of recent, or somebody they were very close to, they could be triggered a little bit.
Yeah.
And it could hurt you, actually.
I do like the question of the relationship between them. I think that's a good question. It builds too.
It's extremely important, because if you remember, what we're going to move towards the end and closing is we're going to try to prevent that, but also share that love through protecting their family with a policy for their beneficiary.
Yeah.
Through whoever that's going to be, their son or daughter, somebody's close to them. So we want them to see that love and relationship that has happened with somebody else they know. And it also gives us a lot of insights later that we can get into, such as ideas of types of funeral arrangements, if it would be similar or different, or cost comparison to be in the ballpark of what we're thinking and setting those expectations leading into pricing later as well.
Are you ready to launch your insurance career? Excel Solutions is your go-to leader in life, accident, and health insurance pre-license training. Their cutting-edge e-learning platform is packed with rich content. Think interactive assessments, engaging videos, and customized learning paths, all tailored to your learning style. Being students ourselves, we've trusted Excel now for years to deliver top-notch training, offering high pass rates. Their streamlined prep review courses and the exam simulator are really your secret weapons to nailing the state exam the very first time. Now, you thought it couldn't get any better. Well, it just did. Life Insurance Academy listeners, you receive an epic 50% discount, reducing the regular course fee from $199 to only $99. So, all you have to do is use partner code LIA at liapodcast.org/Excel. Now, Excel spells XCEL. So don't think about it any longer. Dive headfirst into your insurance career with Excel Solutions' premier pre-license training with that exclusive 50% discount just for you. Get the code, get licensed, and excel in your insurance career.
That's one scenario. We're going to talk about another scenario of moving things forward, not getting stuck. Is when, this is a tough one, when a client appears to be closed off. They're not talking. It feels weird. You feel a disconnect. You know there's a disconnect. What do you see, Zach, in those specific scenarios that, again, simple solutions for the people who are listening?
First and foremost is this: when somebody seems to be closed off, somebody seems to be irritated, we have to put ourselves in their shoes. We have to understand that more times than not, they're just could be I would say, shyer. They're more closed off. They don't know you. Trust is not built. It's not established.
Yeah.
They want to know really who you are. They really want to know what all this is about. And we have to make that connection. So it's that weird awkwardness in between there. It's imperative for us to be able to be as human as possible, to address that elephant in the room if we have to.
Yeah.
But most importantly, what a stuck agent would do would be start asking permission awkwardly. When somebody else is getting the cold shoulder, I guess, from your client, then you're going to say, do you have a few minutes that we can go over this? Is it okay if I walk you through some of this? If you have some time, I'd like to teach you about the 3 different types of insurances that are available to you.
Up. Yeah.
The one thing you don't want to do is become that insecure salesperson, that super permission granting, because it's not going to open them up. They're going to maintain control. They're going to take control of that, and they will shut it down because they can feel you.
Yeah. Well, here, let's have a conversation here. This is not in our notes, but as far as this goes, the one thing I agree with you on, I do think it's better if you...
One thing?
No, there's
Hear
only
that, Adam?
one.
It's the first
there's
thing.
only one thing.
It's the first thing.
Is addressing the elephant in the room. And if it's a rude, there's a difference between shy and rude.
Yeah.
There's a difference between shy and controlling. And if it is a controlling issue, and they're saying, hey, get me to the prices, get me to the quotes, get me to this, get me to this. It's fine to take control of that situation. And I may say something like, Mr. Jim, I'm guessing you're looking for the best coverage for the lowest price. Am I right? Okay. There's a process to this. So I've got a few questions for you, and then I continue moving forward. And I'm going to ask the questions that I need to ask based on what I need for this process. Is that similar to how you approach that?
Absolutely. Yeah. That is imperative. And I think it's important to understand, just like you said, there's a difference in somebody not really talking and somebody kind of being rude.
Correct.
We have to know going into this, we have to understand our market inside and out. We have to know what they're thinking, know what they're feeling. What are the words that they're not saying? Why are they uncomfortable? Yeah. Why are they not opening up? Who do they think I actually am? And if we can answer some of those questions without them having to ask, it opens up everything. Another question I like to ask in there is like, oh, well, they're just, I'm just trying to figure out what this is. I literally address the same type of question you do. Another thing that works well is, if you can leave anybody in your family a large amount of money when you pass, who would that be? And it kind of opens the door to figuring out what that relationship looks like, right? Yeah. It would probably be my daughter. And if you could pick any amount to leave to her, how much would you want to leave to her? And more than anything, it's not about the insurance. It's about understanding the relationships that we're here to protect and understanding and measuring and cracking that door open of the love they have. And then that's going to allow us to start figuring this out and start moving through. Now, I have to tell you, Mr. Chris, that, I love what I do and I talk to people every day just like you. And one of the main reasons that why people really look into taking care of their families because they love them and they want to make sure that burden's taken care of. Typically, this happens when they've lost somebody close to them before or they've had some sort of health scare that made them realize that they're not invincible anymore. Which one of those have kind of got you starting to think about your final expenses? So we're kind of going back to that beginning statement and we're doing everything we can but working. But back to my beginning statement of this, we have to maintain the confidence in who we are. We have to maintain the confidence in our mission that we're trying to accomplish with them. Yeah. And that authority figure, not in an aggressive way, not in that I know more than you, in a gentle, I care, persistent, generosity, niceness, trying to connect type of way.
Yeah. And if you're moving forward, this kind of goes back to a previous podcast we had about communication skills. If you're going to move forward, it's so important that you're actively listening and paying attention, and that you do have follow-up questions where you can say, tell me more about that, or what was that like? So you're giving them the permission to open up and trust you with personal information, stories, things that connect.
The biggest hack on this, Chris, is to be genuinely interested in them.
Yeah.
What they will talk about almost every single time is the people they love the most and who they are, what they love the most.
Yeah.
Right? That could be their career that they've done for
That's
35 years.
Yeah.
That is literally their identity, right? So edify them, make them feel great about their career, make them feel great about being a father, make them, figure out what their hobby is, make them feel like they were the best person.
Fisherman in the world.
Best fisherman in the entire world. But genuinely be interested in them, and you do that by asking those questions and tell me more about that. Or now you said your daughter, now did you ever take her fishing? How old was she when the first time you took her fishing? Yeah. Do you still remember that? Yeah. When she caught her first fish, and you can connect on those levels, knowing that that's going to be the person we're going to be protecting later on anyways.
This is a human to human interaction. And a lot of times we forget that. So thank you for sharing that. We're going to jump. It's almost like we're jumping through portals in the sales process at different times. But we're looking for, what I say is like, I feel like the agents are climbing a mountain. We're looking for handholds to give them so they can get up the mountain. And so we've given a couple examples here. Here's the next one, okay? The client, we're going through what we call the stakes section, and we're asking them the what it would look like questions. What would it look like if you were passed tomorrow and Mandy's in the funeral home and she has to make some decisions? How does that make you feel? Why is this important to you? We're going through, we have some scripted questions we go through. But sometimes there are scenarios where it's not scripted and it feels weird and we don't feel like we poked the pain point, right? So here's an example, Zach, is when somebody says, I always say it this way, that when they sent in the request, they hit an emotional funny bone and we don't know how hard they hit it. It could be, oh man, or it could be, oh wow, I need to see a doctor, right? It's like between those
Your funny bone faces are amazing,
Thank
by the
you,
way.
Zach. I appreciate it.
If you're in the car, pull over and watch that funny bone face.
Yeah. So there's this range that comes in, and we have to understand that. But there are these scenarios where people have, what they say is they have assets, and they'll say something like, well, they can just sell.
Oh, they'll be all right.
Yeah, the Corvette, the house.
What does that mean? Well, I mean, heck, they're going to get everything anyway.
Yeah.
So, they can sell the house, they got stuff here. Heck, I put them through college. They can find a way to bury me.
I think this is a big one where, I put them through college. This is a big one where agents, like the brakes. So it's almost like somebody stuck a stick in their spokes. What thoughts do you have about that?
My first thought on this, Chris, is there was something that we didn't do enough slightly earlier. We didn't build enough emotion. We didn't have a clear identity on the scope of the problem that we are going to solve. Because, again, we say this all the time. We're not manufacturing problems for people.
That's very good.
We're not. They're already there. They exist. We're identifying them from our expertise and revealing the full magnitude of the problem to the client. It's like an iceberg. They think it's this much, but it's really this much, right? And we want to be able to help reveal that. There's a huge difference in agents trying to sell $10,000 policies to every number they dial. Yeah. Because they're just trying to sell $10,000 policies. It doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter who's the beneficiary. Like, they're just trying to fill in the gaps and write the applications. So when I see this and I have somebody that it's hitting that emotional funny bone, but instead of breaking through and opening up, they're turning more inward and finding other ways to pay for it.
Right.
I know that this is going to be a coaching moment for myself to review, to go back and figure out where did I not ask those additional questions? Where did I not get that emotional question? That's my first thing I thought. The second thing is, okay, what do I do now?
Yes.
That I'm dealing with this,
Correct.
right? I also got to understand I'm not going to get in an argument with this guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell him he's wrong, but how do I also get back to what's important? And
we need them to tell us that they need it.
Exactly,
ultimately.
100%. So in my mind, there's a couple different avenues that I can go with here. Number one, how true is it? Does this guy truly have the assets?
You want to see papers. I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
No, but so typically what this means is this person's going to be a logical thinker, right? It's got to make sense.
Yes.
It's going to be a financial decision, right? When we know final expense is an emotional decision. So we're flipped upside down right now.
Yes.
So we either have to switch it back to emotional, or we got to ride the logical train and prove to him a better way to take care of this logically.
Right.
So we get to kind of decide that.
Right.
Obviously, if we're going with option one and taking it back and emotionally, then we're going to ask the same set of questions, right? Number one, you said your daughter was going to be the one to take care of this, right? Now, if you pass away today, how is she going to take care of that? Oh, she'll be able to sell the house and figure it out. That's not a good enough answer. So I'm going to dig into that a little bit more. Now, in order to take care of your final wishes immediately, does she have funds set aside now to take care of those temporarily until she can access some of your other funds, right? Because we have probate and different things that are going to go through, that we want to make sure that is all settled. Sometimes that can take a long time. Do you already have that prearranged for her, right?
Yeah.
Does she have directions? Does she know burial or cremation? Like, I'm trying to figure out this, and we're going towards the emotional burden part of it, right? For the daughter.
And the extra weight, the financial weight, or the financial work, I would say it's the extra financial work that goes along with this.
Somebody's got to front the money, right?
Correct. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, and it's also maybe diving into a little bit of that. Now you said she had grandkids as well, and how are they doing? Are they going to be able to put that money up, knowing that maybe they can sell the house later?
Yeah.
Now, are they currently in their own home, or are they renting? Is that something you've ever thought about them maybe keeping the house in the family since you've had it for 30 years? I'm trying to navigate and figure out, could the daughter actually do it? Right. Could they maintain that? Could they move through that? The time frame of it, because when you sell a house, even if it's sold today, it's got to go through inspections. It's got to be ready. They got to get all your stuff out. It's got to go through probate before they could even sell it. I mean, I'm not a realtor, but I'm saying you're probably at least 6 months out from selling it.
The value of a house can swing $20,000 in 5 years. I mean, we're seeing major volatility currently in the market based on interest rates, all that stuff. Now, I'm going to call time out here, because we said at the beginning of this, we needed to give a simple statement, something that's going to help them. I'm going to do that if you're cool with it. And you tell me if this works, okay? Because you have a lot of things that have to be unpacked. And I like this statement. If they say something, we'll just sell this. Walk me through that. I like it because there's a negative bias that happens that if we let somebody just keep talking and it may be positive, it will end up negative at some point. And we start to help them see the roadblocks a little bit, and we can come in as the advisor and start asking those questions like you said, like, okay, now here are some things that that you may consider. I've got some questions, and you can start asking your questions.
Yeah. Either way, the one thing that is the same is we need them to speak.
Yes.
We need them to talk. We need them to solve the problem. We're not solving the problem.
And we can't give them a list.
No, and we can't tell them what's going to happen. We can't tell them how it's going to happen. Even if we know, we're going to present everything we know in the form of a question.
Correct.
Like, how much do you think you could even get for the house? How long would it take them to sell it? How long do you think probate would go through? Like, everything you're even asking them in that is going to be questions that they need to figure out. And then they don't know, they're starting to realize that.
Now, you may be asking as an agent, why the heck are we having this conversation? Because they have this figured out. They hit a funny bone. This goes back to the fact that they filled something out requesting information about this for a purpose and for a reason. They don't know the details of this yet. And once we realize this, and here's what it comes down to. The people who have assets and resources, this is where we're going to get to at some point in this conversation. They're doing it out of convenience for the people they love. They're doing it to make it simple so they can mourn their loss for the person they love, and it shows that they love them enough to do something small, even if it's small.
Another simple answer is the difference between burial insurance and life insurance, right? Being able to logically, if that is great, perfect. Now we're going to put a final expense plan that take care of the burial and the cremation, which leaves all the sale of the house money for the family that they can invest. They can go do whatever they want with.
Yeah.
The life insurance is for the living. The burial insurance is for the dead.
That's great. So we have something immediately takes care of the final expenses. They don't have to worry about what's in the house and start putting price tags on it yet. Now we have something to take care of that. Okay, cool. Hope that's helpful. Simple statement. Walk me through that, asking good questions afterwards. The need.
And if you're brand new listening to this, this is geared towards a specialized final expense market.
Yes.
There's not too many times that your clients are going to own a home,
right? Own
it outright. And then beyond that, there's not too many times that it's going to be sellable. Right.
Or in a condition to sell
or even, exactly. And so being able to think about that. And if you do, we're borderline looking at potential other solutions as well to a final expense plan. And that conversation would have probably been pivoted a little bit differently anyway. Right. So we're not talking about the client that has a $380,000 home by any means, right? No. So it's not like just buku's assets everywhere.
No, and it's almost like the client who says, I'm healthy, and they have heart issues and diabetes.
100%.
And the person who says, I'm not healthy, and then they're fine. So those are things to consider. Also, a good follow-up statement in these conversations, like if we walk me through that and they're sharing those ideas, another good follow-up question is, what concerns you about that? And that starts to reveal some of those issues that they identify without you bringing all those things up.
Yeah, this next scenario, Chris, I love it. I think it's such a good this is such a good thing and a good tools and good questions to ask, because it can really open up the relationship in a way that we want it. When you have a client says, this is the first time that I've actually talked to somebody, or, I've been looking for this for a while. What would you respond to that? How do you not get stuck in that situation?
Actually, I like both of these statements. I like it. When I hear I've been looking for a while, I want to know, have you talked to other agents regarding this? So framework, we're going to take a time out here. Framework, we're talking to people who are 50 to 85 years old in these conversations. And the best time to take care of this, if I asked an agent here, when is the best time to take care of this? You would say now. Well, the reality is, based on what we know and what we experience, it was 10, 15 years ago. That's when the best time was. So now there's a big blinking red light. My statement, this is the first time I've talked to someone. Mrs. Jones, what do you think has been holding you back from actually doing something, taking care of this?
I love that.
Yeah.
Even so, Chris, a lot of times, like, I don't even want the client to give me this statement. I will give the statement for this client. Is this the first time that you've actually looked into this, or have you been looking to this for a while?
Yeah.
Like, that is a gold line, right?
Yeah.
That you can use, because it opens up everything. The question isn't yes or no, because if it's like, no, it's not the first time I've looked into this. Well, how long have you been looking into this? And what has has kind of prevented you from moving forward? Is it, did you feel like you weren't going to be able to get qualified? Like you're starting to really address some concerns and some potential objections before they ever become objections.
Yeah.
And you're able to discuss those, because one things we do know about insurance is the clients that we sit with, if you literally just took a poll and said, name all the insurance companies you name, they're going to name the ones they see in the mail, internet, or TV. The ones that are mass marketed. These are typically your guaranteed issues, the 995s, all those, right? That's all they know about insurance. And then if, also every single one of them thinks it's unaffordable. They can't tell you how much it is, but they think it costs way more than it actually does.
Right.
So now they think you can't afford it. And then they fear that none of them can get qualified. Those are always the fears.
Those are the things that are popping up from this conversation right here.
Every single time. That's what it comes. So to be able to ask that, it allows us to figure that out. Yes, this is the first time, or no, it isn't the first time, and you can kind of figure out what steered them away on the other occasions, so you know how to help them move forward on this one.
The conversation of why you didn't get a sale, and this is in a previous podcast. Somebody knows the number. Zach, I promise you knows the number. Trust, need, want, urgency, money. The top 5 reasons episode.
It's probably in the top 20.
Okay, we'll put it there in the top 20. And that conversation, I like this. This feels like it's an urgency dial that we can turn. And, this is the first time I've talked to someone. I'm even going to pause and say, I want them to feel like, wow, that's unusual.
Because this is like the number one, I want to think about it, buster before it even happens.
That's right. Yes. Well, what's been holding you back? Then you have a full conversation coming out of that. And these moments.
That question alone will sell policies.
Yeah. Yeah. Boom. Done. Easy. And then lastly, anytime you're seeking depth or clarity, and you should always, I'll give you a scenario where you don't. Well, you should. Anytime you should be seeking depth and clarity, because you're actively listening. And we have to get better at that in the sales process.
You can't listen if you don't ask questions.
Correct. So it's the simple question, help me understand more. Tell me more about that. Now, I will say, this last boot camp, I did have a client, an agent who was buried in health questions because they were asking, tell me more about that, and learning more about Crohn's disease than they ever needed to. You have to know where to use that. And it's usually in the stakes conversation. It's usually in the other folks would say the discovery. Yeah. They're very, very similar.
It's either diving deep into that relationship to get to know who they are, how they think, how big their heart is essentially. And also that painting that picture of amazing triumph and devastation on both sides of that two-sided photo of being able to protect their family and not protect their family. It's just the being able, and then one thing you notice, guys, throughout this entire podcast, throughout all of our teachings and trainings, the agents that sell at the highest levels, they're never telling anything to anybody. Everything they do is wrapped in a form of a question. And every answer they received, you never accept the first answer. You want to go in more depth. You want to get a better, deeper answer, because there's going to be more reason and more emotion, because our clients naturally want to resist some of that. They want to hold it back. They feel vulnerable. They feel scared. And we're trying to create that safe place and safe relationship to be able to know that we can help you take care of this. Yeah. The only thing we do that is being genuinely interested, really caring in them, knowing what questions to ask and what answers to accept. Yes. It's not enough for new agents or some of you out there to say, man, Chris said ask this question and it is great. And you ask the question and then you just moved to the next question. Right. It's taking that moment, listening to the answer. With the question we asked, did we get the answer that we were looking for? Do we get the full answer, or do we feel that the client is holding back? If you think you got the full answer, then it's definitely not going to be an issue to say, tell me more about that. And they say, well, Chris, I don't really have any more to tell you about that. How many clients have told you that?
That's fine. Yes.
Probably none, right?
Yes.
Like they don't tell you that.
That's hilarious.
They always tell you.
Oh, they'll keep going. And even if you paused at that point, they will keep going.
You can't really be too interested if you're genuine.
That's good.
You can't. You can't. And you can't bring too much clarity if you're listening and really identifying and placing that with the family. You can't.
Guys, we hope this brought you some value today. The goal of this call is to get unstuck. I love what Zach said at the beginning. Like sometimes it feels like it gets derailed, but our goal is to discover the stakes, the need, help them be able to communicate what the need is and their desire for it in the first place. So when you get the chance, if you haven't already, listen to the podcast, take some notes. These are some simple statements and questions that can help you move forward, but they're not magic words, like Zach said. You have to bring yourself to this and pay close attention to what your clients are saying. But these are little handholds that will help you along the way. Guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe. I know Adam said that 60% of our listeners haven't subscribed. They just like to drop in, which is fine. Drop in, but hit the subscribe button because then you'll know when a new podcast comes out. We love your comments. Throw in some comments, questions, ideas. We're cool with that. And we will catch you on the next
Life Insurance Academy podcast.
Boom.